Hello everyone, welcome to this Cyferd live webinar where we'll be demonstrating to you the power of the Cyferd platform augmented by the Neurogenesis AI engine. On today's webinar you'll have myself, Haider Al-Saidi, I'm the Chief Customer Officer at Cyferd. I'll be covering off the presentations, and Matt Hayes, who's our SVP of Artificial Intelligence and Neurogenesis, he'll be covering off the demos. Just before we get into the agenda, just want to highlight a couple of key disclaimer points here. This really in summary, you shouldn't make purchasing decisions based on the content that you see here today alone. There is a contact email address for our legal department should you have any questions on anything presented on this slide. Today's agenda is as follows. We're going to start actually with Matt doing a very short demo of Neurogenesis, our AI engine, really just to tantalize your taste buds before we get into the more boring presentation slides, which unfortunately I'll be covering today. My slides will really be describing the problem statement that we see out in the market, and then really describing how Cyferd addresses the problem statement that I will describe to you. And then we'll move back to Matt, who will go into a more detailed demo of the Cyferd platform and the Neurogenesis engine before we wrap up at the end. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Matt to get us started.
Excellent, thank you, Haider, and welcome everyone to Cyferd Live. So I get the fun job here of showing you all the cool things that we're doing at Cyferd. So the Cyferd platform, it's already a beast. It empowers organizations to create applications and business lenses in hours and days, rather than the usual months and years that you would expect from application development. However, on top of that, we've set our next generation AI engine, which we call Neurogenesis, and this takes it a step further. It allows us to build out a whole platform of applications in seconds, right in front of your eyes. So I'm going to do that a little bit later on in this session. But as a bit of a teaser, I'm going to introduce you to our Neurogenesis suite generator. So here we go, I'll open this up. So what this does is it allows me to enter a few keywords about the kind of business I have, the kind of problems I have. And what it's going to do is it's going to suggest me additional systems that I don't already have in the platform that would be useful for my organization. So to prove that we're not doing anything smoke and mirrors, I'll just type in something random like fluffy rabbit sanctuary on the moon. I don't know what goes on in my head sometimes. And then we'll click generate suite of lenses. So what it's doing now is it's talking to the Neurogenesis engine and it's saying, all right, I've got a business that's a fluffy rabbit sanctuary on the moon. What kind of applications do I need that I don't already have? And then it's coming back with a few different suggestions. So for example, an air purification system, so a way of tracking our air purification, water recycling, a gravity simulator. As a physicist in my education, I'd be very interested in that. Hydroponic growth system, temperature control, etc., medical diagnostic systems. So yeah, even though I'd put something quite stupid in here, it's actually come back and suggested me some interesting systems. But anyway, I'm not going to build one of those out. What we'll actually do is, based on the people who've got on the call, we've got a lot of higher education contacts and a lot of people from healthcare. So let's build out a higher education suite of apps. And again, Neurogenesis is going to look at that and it's going to suggest the kind of applications we might want to build. So here we go. It's come back with a few different ones here. So a learning management system, which would be relevant for both education and also hospitals, and most businesses will need some sort of LMS or TMS system. Student information system, I might build that one later on. Online course development, content management, student engagement, alumni management. So there's lots of things here that I might not currently have. So I don't currently have in Cyferd, but I might not currently have in my business. I might be trying to support them with, like clunky workarounds, bits of paper, spreadsheets. But I can actually build an entire system just in the Cyferd platform using Neurogenesis in just a few seconds. So that's a bit of a teaser. We'll come back and we'll build one of these slightly later on in the session. But first, I'm going to hand you back to Haider, who's going to explain a bit more about what is Cyferd, what do we do, and how can we help your organization?
Thanks, Matt. That was great. Looking forward to the next part of the demo. Now back to my boring part, unfortunately. But what I wanted to do was really talk through the problem statement, the challenges that we've heard, different challenges from many customers that they're facing on their difficult and unique digital transformation journey. The first thing I really want to talk about is the landscape of technology that you'll find in most organizations, in fact, and it's really a very, very complex one. What you realize is that there are lots of applications. First of all, some bought off the shelf, some built in-house. Those applications and services are typically spread across on-premise infrastructure, cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. Some of the applications are subscriptions as a service, and essentially what you start to see very quickly is that there's an awful lot of cost. There's obviously lots of vendors involved, and that inevitably will have loss of software costs, complex licensing models, consultancy training, etc. And even those organizations that try and do a lot of the development in-house, then they have a different cost. With larger development teams, a reliance on perhaps more specialist tooling, and of course a requirement for more specialist skills in order to deliver applications and solutions out into the business. So cost is a critical point in running infrastructure in this kind of fragmented, or technology or solutions in this kind of fragmented way. Of course, there's a lot of complexity as well with so many layers. Ultimately, if you've got lots of different business applications, then you're going to have lots of different integration headaches. We all know that data needs to be shared across business applications in order to facilitate workflows, and to facilitate use cases. And you'd be amazed that today in 2023 how many business users are still required to manually key in data into two different systems, because those systems don't talk to each other. And of course there are technologies out there that can help address some of these integration challenges. It could be, for example, RPA, or it could be master data management to try and keep the data consistent. But ultimately you're adding even more technology, even more cost, and even more things that could potentially go wrong without actually addressing the root cause issue. And of course what you end up with is a very fragmented landscape of applications, of data, quickly resulting in inconsistencies, and ultimately capping what you can do from an innovation perspective, because there are just too many moving parts. Other observations that we've heard from customers around being forced to either customize apps, or spend a lot of time customizing apps and solutions that they bought from vendors, or being forced to work the way the vendor software is designed to work, and both are suboptimal. I'm sure many folks listening into this call will have experience of or know of projects where an off-the-shelf solution was bought, or a dedicated solution was bought for let's say a CRM, for example, but still needed 6 months of consultancy to customize the solution to meet the client's requirements. We've certainly heard of cases where a client of ours was quoted, not by us thankfully, by one of their existing suppliers, for an 8 weeks and $20,000 to add a vaccination status to a HR employee record. Clearly that's unacceptable from a cost perspective, from a time perspective. Most clients should be able to do that kind of change themselves, and the reality is they can't. And the reason for that is that most of these solutions are bought are not designed to be customized in the first place, or they have very limited customization potential. And as soon as you want to do something slightly more difficult or complex, you either need specialist skills or consultancy, or there's a lot of cost involved, a lot of time involved as well. Of course, savvy business users will always find their own way. So if the systems don't quite work the way they want them to work, or they're frustrated with the way something has been designed, they'll inevitably create their own processes, and that usually involves Excel. They'll find their workaround, they'll use it, that will become the norm within that department very, very quickly. And of course, the risk there is you're bypassing not only a large investment, but security and compliance controls as well, by taking matters into their own hands, essentially, because they're frustrated with the tools that they've been given. Ultimately, with a complex landscape of applications, many business users don't even know which app to use for infrequent tasks, for example, and every app that they use will have a different user interface, user experience, and very quickly they forget how to do things. And again, just that obviously can create issues around adoption, around the culture of the organization as well. Now, these are common challenges, I think, that we've described here. What are the analysts saying? That's always an interesting source of information to see where things are going in the future. Gartner are highlighting the emergence of the super app, they're terming it, and they're expecting by 2027 more than 50% of the global population will be daily active users of multiple super apps. Now, the first question here is, what is a super app? Well, the definition actually is still a little bit vague, but ultimately can be defined as essentially a Swiss Army knife that can consolidate and replace multiple applications for either internal or external use into a single into a single super app that's made up of multiple mini apps. And really, the idea behind this is that it supports the notion of composable business ecosystems, which means you can refactor and reuse what you've already got in an existing solution to meet new and changing requirements continuously. And this is really a shift away from the current scattered, siloed landscape of applications that I showed you, in the previous slides. And of course, from this will come cost savings, efficiency gains, etc. The diagram here shows the Gartner hype cycle. This really shows that super apps are still in the early stages, but we at Cyferd believe that we're already a long way down the line with our equivalent, which I think actually once I describe to you what Cyferd is in a bit more detail, I think there can be comparisons drawn with with the super apps approach. But we believe we're already providing value to our customers, driving efficiency and cost savings with this super app notion, where you could have essentially a platform, Cyferd being the super app, and lots of mini solutions and applications and workflows contained within the app, within the super app, within the Cyferd platform. So just to be clear, we've plotted ourselves on this diagram just to avoid any uncertainty there. So let's dig into Cyferd a little bit further here. What is it? How would we describe it in kind of 20-30 seconds? Ultimately, Cyferd is a cloud platform on which you can develop any kind of business solution, business application, or operational workflow on top of a shared, consistent, unified data model. And obviously that's absolutely key. The unified data model ensures that data isn't duplicated across different solutions that we build on the platform, and that it enables quick and easy creation of new solutions on the platform as well, because that data model can be extended in minutes to capture new data to support and onboard new use cases onto the platform. Now, we have coined a word here or a phrase here in the business lens. So we try not to use the word application, because an application tends to be a siloed container of functionality, data, and a user experience. What we have here with business lenses are really business lenses that look, or solutions that look into different parts of the underlying data model. So we're not limited to some of the solutions we've listed here on the screen. We can build any solution from the ground up. But the idea here is that a lens or a business lens as a view into part of the data model needed to support that given use case. And so referring back to Gartner, we do see the Cyferd platform as the super app, and the lenses built on the platform as really being the mini apps. Neurogenesis, which Matt is going to get into further later in the demo, obviously is an absolutely key part. It's an AI, the platform has AI integrated into many parts of what we do. One of the parts one of the key parts where AI has been integrated into the Cyferd platform is in the development of the applications or the lenses themselves. So you can build a business lens using Neurogenesis AI to accelerate solution development by just providing Cyferd a few keyword prompts, and it will go off and evaluate what it needs to do, and it will go and start to build the solution for you in just minutes. And so within a few minutes, you're going to have a base application that you can look at, investigate, analyze. You can maybe remove bits that you don't need, and you can start to get into the configuration of that business lens. And within a few days, typically, you can already build quite advanced applications because the AI has already built a significant portion of the application for you. Then you're getting into configuration of that application or of that lens to refine it to exactly your precise requirements, and you can do that without code. So again, reducing the need for highly specialist skills or expensive resources to do that kind of work. The data model, which we've touched on, is obviously absolutely key. It sits underneath all of the lenses. It's shared. Of course, we'll provide a permissions and security framework around each of the lenses. So you'll only see what you're allowed to see ultimately as a business user, but underneath you have got that consistent layer, and so you're getting that efficiency from the get-go. We're not going to create lots of different duplications of data spread across the platform, because it doesn't need to be that way. And then of course, the Cyferd platform isn't only a development platform, it's actually the hosting platform as well for any solution that you build on the platform. So it means that when you roll out a solution, that solution is going to be enterprise grade. It's going to have all of the relevant integrations with other external systems. It's going to have workflow, permissions, and you'll be in complete control knowing that you're deploying a solution on an enterprise grade platform that isn't going to expose you to unnecessary risk in your organization. Now, there are a few key scenarios when you would look to use or to build lenses or business lenses on the Cyferd platform. One is if you have a greenfield area in your organization that needs a solution quickly, well, you can build that solution on the Cyferd platform in days, certainly hours or days, not weeks or months. Another common scenario is if you have an end-of-life application or an unsupported application that really needs to be modernized and replatformed. That would be a great use case to build that solution net new on the Cyferd platform. We can migrate the data across once that application has been created on our platform, and obviously retire the old application at that point. In many cases, we may want to extend an existing incumbent solution. It could be that you've invested heavily in a given solution. It does what you need it to do. Maybe there's some new business requirements come in and it's not able to meet those requirements easily. What we can do in that case is extend some of the master data out of that system into Cyferd, and then build off that and connect and build off that data in our model to create you a new module or a new solution area to augment and extend what you already have from your existing technology investment. So this is not about replacing everything. This is about sitting side by side nicely to give you new capability quickly that you may otherwise struggle to achieve. And then lastly, just industrializing solutions that maybe pose risk to the organization. There's still many departments with a server running their own solutions. If someone leaves the organization, that can introduce risk, or maybe that solution isn't enterprise grade. these are the types of use cases that we can move onto the Cyferd platform, and any use case that you build on the platform, of course, can be extended in the future or built from or reused for other use cases as well. So I hope that provides a short summary of the platform. I think the best way to see it is in action. So I'm going to hand back to Matt, who's going to carry on with the demo, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you.
Okay, so back to the fun stuff. So we left off looking at a higher education organisation, and Neurogenesis has suggested me a set of business lenses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these. So let's pick a student information system, and I'm going to click Build. So this is going to open up a new tab now, and it's going to start the process off of building my application. So first of all, it's building my app, my business lens in the Cyferd platform. And now it's going to the Neurogenesis engine, and it's saying, for a student information system, what kind of data collections do I want? What kind of information do I want to actually capture in this kind of system? And now it's come back with a list of different collections. So curriculum materials, fee and payment records, contact information, academic, oh man, it's creating loads. Academic program, teacher profiles. I'm not going to read them all out. And it's still going. This is one of my biggest apps so far. But it's essentially creating all these collections. And then for each collection, you can see some of them are ticking off as we go. It's then actually going back to the Neurogenesis engine and saying, okay, well, for a curriculum materials collection, what kind of information do I want to capture in that? So what kind of fields do I want? What kind of data types for those fields do I want? Once it's done that, as it will do here, and it's run these all in parallel, so they'll start popping in all over the place. It's then going to start generating examples for each one of these collections. So in a production environment, I might not want to generate examples because I might want to put my own data in here. But for the sake of sort of demoing or building up requirements in the first place, it's quite useful to actually see some data and be able to play with that. So here it's already generated some examples for the fee and payment records. And actually this is, even though it's quite a big app, it's going a lot faster than I wanted it to, because I was going to scroll onto another screen here and show you other parts of the platform. But we'll just let Neurogenesis do its thing, I guess. So it's generating examples. It's now classifying facts and dimensions. Essentially, it's looking at all those collections and it's saying which collections are like activity tables, activity records, and which ones are more dimensions, so more like lookup tables. Then for each one of those, it's then going to say, okay, how do I link these together? So how do I link these different collections together as part of a connected data model? And we can see here it's decided to connect a bunch of these collections together. So for example, student profiles will have disciplinary records. They'll also have grades and transcripts. Disciplinary records will also be attached to teacher profiles. My grades and transcripts will be attached to my course schedules, etc. So it's going through and it's creating those associations for me right now. And I can see just underneath here, while it's still popping all these things up, that it's created 13 collections for me with a total of 67 fields in each one. And it's still creating me associations. I've got 15 counting so far, and a total of 50 example records as well. And then here at the bottom are all the collections that it's actually created for me. So there's quite a few there. The final thing that Neurogenesis is going to do is it's actually then going to say, okay, well, for each one of these collections that I've generated, the associations it has, the fields it has, can you give me a bit of a tutorial about that? How do I use this kind of data collection? So for example, if I scroll down now and look at the course schedules, which is, if I can find it, course schedule here, I'll click on that. And what we'll see on the right-hand side is it will load an example record. I'll ignore that at the bottom. Where you'll see an example record. Oh man, stop being so quick. So it's actually finished now. It sent me a notification. So yeah, we'll see a little bit of tutorial and narrative about what kind of information is captured in this collection. So this is good to then push back to your users. So this is, this is how you use this information. And then it's also actually generated me some example data. It's generated me 5 records, but I can just see the first one here. So for a particular English course, I've got a course title, English composition. I can see an instructor. It's given me a drop-down list of a schedule I can pick from, a location. We can pick on some of these other ones. So academic program information, that looks interesting. So we can see here, again, it's come up with a bit of narrative about this, this collection, storing in essential information about academic programs offered by an educational institution, etc. And then it's come back with the program name of nursing, code for that, the kind of level of degree that is. So it's a bachelor's degree, got a bit of a program description and a duration in years. And it's also given us a drop down here of a multi, I don't know what to call that, a list, we'll call it a list of program requirements. So what courses you might need to do before this. With these associations, I can then actually attach them to, I think these will be students or enrollment records. So yeah, if I can look at one of those, that'll be a student record. It's just picked possibly an ID as the record title there. So yeah, really interesting. This is a really big app that it's created for us, but it's generated all these collections and I can start working with that straight away. In fact, the one thing that we might want to do, so let's pick, I'm sure we've got a student in here somewhere, student profiles. So let's have a quick look at this one, which is just loading for me. There we go. So I've got Bob Johnson here as an example record. Gender, I've got male, female, and other. I think other is a bit othering as a term as a gender. So let's actually make that a bit better. So what we'll do is I'm going to jump into the builder now. And this is not me as someone at Cyferd doing this. This will be someone in your organization. It could be yourself. And I'll jump into this data collections section. So these are all our data collections as part of our joined up model. I can search for student. That'll be the student profiles that I was just looking at. I can open that up. I can do some things. I can give it an icon if I really want to. Maybe pick a person. Yeah, personal data, sure. I can then go into the fields, see all my associations at the top there, and gender was the one I was interested in. So gender, I've got a lot of settings here, so I can say it's required. I can change the description of that. And at the bottom here, I've got my values. I've got male, female, and then perhaps instead of other, I want to change that to maybe non-binary. And then maybe we might want some other ones so I can add an option. Trans male, trans female. You know, I might want to have lots of different ones here. I'm not going to go into that too much detail. And likewise, I can pick some colors for these. So let's give that a nice color. Non-binary people can be represented by this random 360-degree icon. I've got different options here. And then we can also add another field in here as well. So let me add a field in, and I'll do it as a rating. And I'll say, how dope is Neurogenesis? Question mark. So this is a rating. I don't know why I said dope. I'm not that cool. Let's make it a nice green rating, and then we'll save that. So immediately I've changed this collection, and I can start using it. So I'll go back to our front end. I'll see my example records. So let me load this. This will be my list of students. I think it's linked to quite a lot of information. There we go. So for example, now we can go back into Bob's record at the top here. I can already see my field, how dope is Neurogenesis. Maybe I open that up. Here we go. I've now got gender instead of other. Did I not change other to non-binary? I thought I had done. So we've got trans, we've got male, we've got female, etc. We've also got how dope is Neurogenesis, so I can say it's obviously a 10 out of 10. I can save that record, and now I've got a record that I can interact with straight away. So that's the power of Neurogenesis coupled with the power of the platform itself. You know, I can quickly accelerate my application development, and then I can start tweaking that straight away. So the other things I'll show you as part of the platform itself. What we'll do is we'll have a look at our operations tenant. So some of these applications or these business lenses have been created by Neurogenesis, others we've actually just created internally. What we'll show you is how we can use these. So normally users wouldn't have access to everything. Because I'm doing a demo, I obviously have access to a lot of information. But say I was a driver in this organization, it's a logistics company, I'd be able to see my driver's jobs, I'd be able to see my expenses, my HR, my tasks and service desk, but I wouldn't necessarily have access to our CRM or our finance ledger, for example. But as I do, let's jump into a few of these. So for example, if we look into the ledger, we'll see a bit of a custom dashboard that we've got at the top of the page here. I can see all my different orders, parts, etc., my ingoings and outgoings. And I can actually create a new record in here. So it all looks very similar, looks and feels the same. So once you've learned to use one app, you can use all of them. I'll then jump back to my home screen, open up another app. So let's go into the Service Desk app this time. I can see my in-progress service requests. Again, I can add a new service request at the top here. And it's the same thing again, it looks and feels the same. So I'm not having to train people on every single app separately. If you get someone to use their annual leave in the system, they'll suddenly be able to use everything in the system. The other thing that I'll show you is we have this global search, which I've already been doing some searches for. So for example, I might know that recently I've had some problems with a delay. So I can type delay into here and it'll come back and it'll search across my entire data model and it'll show me the different things that have delay in them. We've got a couple of risks here that I might be interested in, but actually it's this delayed deliveries that I'm interested in. So I can click on that, and then from my Service Desk application, it's going to take me straight across to, I think it was an issue record. Yep. So it's going to take me straight to that issue, and I can start looking into this and sort of see, what was the problem here? Hi, there was a witness to this, etc. Likewise, I can say I've been working with a specific account recently in my CRM. So I can look at that account. Here it is. And I can jump from the risks and issues system thanks to health and safety app. I can jump into our CRM app. So I'm not having to navigate to lots of different siloed applications. I can actually search across my whole platform at the same time. So this is our CRM account then. So I can see a bit of customer information. And then this is a really good example of our business lenses. So I can scroll down along here and I can see I've got my opportunities, my orders, my contacts for this prospect, my activities. And then what's interesting is I can also see my expenses. So because I'm recording expenses in the platform and I'm also recording my CRM information, I can actually tie those two things together and give you a business lens into the expenses application that are linked to this account. So for example, I can see that I've had a receipt here for £16.50, or this one for a meal for £5, £29.25. I can click on that, I can see the file that's been uploaded. So I can see the actual information here relating to this account all in one place, which I think is really powerful. What we'll do now is I'll just jump back to Neurogenesis. This went a bit quicker, so I've messed up my flow of talking today a little bit, because I'm supposed to come back and show you more stuff with Neurogenesis. What I'll do instead is I'll show you this other feature we have in Neurogenesis. So I've shown you the suite generator. We showed that at the beginning, higher education. It built us a list of applications. I then generated a single lens. So I generated the student information system, which created a lens for that and all the collections. We also have this analyze button. Now this is really interesting because there's a lot of buzz about generative AI at the moment, which is what Neurogenesis is doing there. It's creating us business assets, but also there's a lot of things around, like chatbot style interactions with artificial intelligence, and particularly things like large language models. The problem with those is they're very much like a parrot sat on your shoulder, a very clever parrot, and you ask it a question and it'll give you a really good response. But that's all it does because it's just a parrot that's sat on your shoulder. It can't really do much more with that. Whereas what we've actually done is we're embedding AI within our product itself. So for example, I can say something like, as a large university, let me spell this right. Come on, fingers. As a large university, we have a larger than usual number of overseas student applications. We need to house them. Can you suggest a system to help? So I can enter a bit of a problem statement in here. I can send a message. This will then talk to our Neurogenesis engine. It'll get some advice about this sort of problem for me. but not just a textual response, but it's also going to reply with some suggested next steps for me as well. Here we go. Not even enough time for me to take a sip of water. So for example, it's come back with some different things that it can create, centralized housing assistance program, dedicated staff members. I'm not going to read all these out, but you see it's come back with a bit of a textual response for me, but it's also then actually suggested next steps from here. And these are then clickable actions. So for example, create a centralized housing assistance program. What I can do now is I can click on that and it'll give me a pop-up, and I can then assign this as an activity to someone in my company. I'll just assign it to me for now. It's taken my action and it's put it in there as disabled, and then I can add some additional information here. So, hey Matt, why talk in third person? Can you look into this for me? Cheers. Assign that action. So I'm not just getting a response, but I'm actually getting something that I can work with. You can see I've already been assigned that task now. Leading on from that, we can tweak this workflow however we want to. So at the moment, it's just assigning tasks to people. We can also determine if this is an application that I need. I could click it and say, yeah, build me this application, and it'll go into the Neurogenesis engine and it'll build that out for me. If it's something like I want to book a meeting or create a record in an existing collection, likewise, I can do that from here as well. So there's a lot of power with our Neurogenesis engine, and it's all the more powerful because it's sat on this really powerful platform in the first place. I think that's where I'll leave it today. So I guess this was a whistle-stop tour to show you the power of our connected business lenses, and also a bit about our generative AI engine, Neurogenesis. There are some things that I haven't talked about today. And let me just bring up this slide here. So yeah, there are some things that we haven't talked about. So for example, open interoperability. As a platform, we are completely open in terms of how people can message information in or out of the platform. We've been stung too many times as people in organizations like the NHS in the past, where I couldn't get my data out of the systems that I was working with. So we're very open in terms of our interoperability. We haven't really gone much into our workflow engine, which is very powerful. We haven't talked much about our predictive or diagnostic algorithms, which are made possible with Neurogenesis. And also we have a SQL migrator, or a legacy system migrator, that allows us to take systems that you already have, that you want to retire, that you want to get rid of, but you haven't got the time for, and actually take those and build them straight into the Cyferd platform as well. But this is the first in a series of webinars, so come back in the future. And I will stop talking now. But on behalf of myself, Haida, and everyone else here at Cyferd, thank you very much for listening today. I'll leave this slide up on the screen for a few minutes. Get in touch with me or Haida if you want to. You can scan the QR code at the bottom there. It'll take you to a web page that lets you ask for more information. But yeah, reach out. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening to me drone on. I hope you have a very good day. Thank you.